92% of what we fear never materializes, yet anxiety devours entire lifetimes. You are not broken. You are untrained. The Stoics understood something modern psychology is only beginning to confirm. Fear is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a faculty to be disciplined. By the end of this reflection, I'll reveal the precise mental exercise Marcus Aurelius performed before facing overwhelming uncertainty, one that can rewire how you respond to dread itself.
We'll move through 3 essential territories. First, we'll expose the architecture of fear, what it actually is, and why it has enslaved brilliant minds throughout history. Second, we'll enter the Stoic philosophical core, the precise doctrines that dissolve anxiety at its root. Third, we'll extract practical daily disciplines. But the real revelation, Marcus Aurelius's battlefield method, waits at the end, where it will mean the most. Fear is architecture. It has load-bearing walls, constructed in childhood, reinforced by repetition, decorated with catastrophic imagination. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote in Letter 13, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Consider the executive who hasn't slept soundly in 3 years because of a conversation that hasn't happened yet. Consider the artist who has never shared a single work. Fear doesn't arrive, it inhabits, and most people never notice it moved in permanently. The insidious nature of anxiety is that it masquerades as wisdom. It whispers in the voice of caution, of responsibility, of self-preservation. Neuroscience confirms the amygdala cannot distinguish between genuine threat and imagined narrative. Your body floods with cortisol over a thought, a story you authored, starring a catastrophe that statistically will never arrive. This physiological hijacking is precisely what Epictetus called allowing externals to command the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of the soul. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Every philosopher who conquered fear did not do so by eliminating it. They did something far more radical. They re-examined its foundation entirely. The Stoics discovered that fear is never really about the event. It is always, without exception, about the judgment we attach to the event. Remove the judgment, and something astonishing happens. The fear loses its oxygen. This single insight divided the ancient world's thinkers from the merely anxious.
Epictetus, born a slave, chained at the ankle, tortured by his master Epictetus, articulated the dichotomy of control with surgical precision. Some things are within our power, while others are not. The body can be imprisoned. The opinion cannot. This is not passive resignation. This is the most aggressive act of the human will, reclaiming the only territory that is genuinely, cosmically yours. Fear operates entirely in the territory of externals. The moment you truly grasp this, its architecture begins to crack. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commanding 30 legions, governing 60 million souls, wrote in his private meditations, never intended for any audience, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was describing apatheia, not indifference in the common sense, but freedom from the irrational passions that distort judgment. Apatheia is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to let unchecked emotion override the logos, the cosmic rational principle that governs both universe
and mind.
Seneca introduced the discipline of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Not pessimism, strategic psychological rehearsal. Each morning, before the world could ambush you, you would calmly envision the day's worst plausible outcomes. Not to generate dread, but to defang it. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life, Seneca wrote. When you have already faced the feared thing in imagination, deliberately, in the discipline of prosoche, its arrival finds you armored, not ambushed. And if this reflection is stirring something in you, subscribe. What comes next in this journey matters even more. The Stoic method of prosoche, vigilant attention, demands that you become the observer of your own mental movements. Anxiety thrives in the unexamined. When you turn toward the fear with deliberate, calm scrutiny, something remarkable occurs. You begin to see it as a pattern of thought, not a verdict of reality. The feared thing is always an interpretation. Interpretations are the dominion of the hegemonicon. They are yours to revise. Wait. What comes next is what few truly understand. The Stoics did not counsel the suppression of fear. Chrysippus, the third head of the Stoic school, distinguished between irrational passions and what he called eupatheiae, good emotions rooted in rational judgment. Caution, not anxiety. Wish, not desperate craving. The goal is not a blank, emotionless existence. That is a caricature. The goal is emotional sovereignty, feeling deeply, but from the commanding height of reason. Virtue, arete, is not the absence of intensity. It is intensity correctly governed. Tomorrow, when you wake and the first anxious thought surfaces, and it will, do not resist it. Do not distract yourself from it. Apply the Stoic three-step discipline. First, name it precisely. I fear that the presentation will fail. Second, apply the dichotomy of control. Is this within my power? Third, prescribe the action or the acceptance. This is not an affirmation ritual. This is philosophical surgery, the precise extraction of irrational judgment from the tissue of experience. Musonius Rufus, the Roman Stoic who taught Epictetus, insisted that philosophy must be practiced, not merely contemplated. As a doctor treats the sick, so philosophy treats those suffering from fear, he wrote. Develop a nightly review, the Stoic examine. Sit in silence. Ask 3 questions. Where did anxiety command me today? Where did I act from genuine reason? What one judgment will I revise tomorrow? This practice of daily self-examination transforms philosophy from elegant abstraction into lived armor against dread. In 177 CE, Marcus Aurelius faced simultaneous catastrophe. The Antonine Plague killing 5 million people across his empire, Germanic tribes breaching the Danube frontier, a civil revolt threatening Rome's eastern provinces. He wrote in the field, between military councils. His meditations contain no hysteria, no despair, only relentless self-examination. He wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." Amid civilizational collapse, the man governed his hegemonicon. That is not mythology. That is documented historical record. Cato the Younger, facing Julius Caesar's final victory at the Battle of Thapsus in 46 BCE, knowing his republic was ending,
spent his last night not in despair, but reading Plato's Phaedo. He performed the Stoic discipline to its ultimate conclusion, evaluating what remained within his power when everything external was lost. His refusal to surrender to Caesar was not stubbornness. It was the lived expression of amor fati, love of fate, accepting what Logos had ordained while remaining sovereign over his own moral identity to the final moment.
Now, the technique Marcus Aurelius used before overwhelming uncertainty. Each morning in his campaign tent, before any council or decision, he would perform what scholars call the view from above. He would mentally ascend, imagining Rome, then the empire, then the known world, then the cosmos, until his personal fear appeared in its actual proportion, a single troubled mind in an infinite rational universe, governed by Logos. Fear contracts vision. The view from above expands it, restoring the hegemonicon to its commanding elevation. Practice this tomorrow morning. 30 seconds. That is all it requires.
The promise made at the opening is now fulfilled. Fear is a judgment. Judgments are yours. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire from the inside out, and so can you. If this reflection has moved you, subscribe. Tomorrow, we go deeper into the nightly ritual Seneca used to examine his soul before sleep. The bell ensures you don't miss it. What would you attempt if anxiety no longer cast the deciding vote in your life?